Joined now by Dr. Mary Bousted. Dr. Bousted, good to have you on the show this morning. How confident are your members this morning as the schools fully reopen their doors? We should, of course, make it clear, as we do every time we talk about this topic, that teachers and some pupils have been going to school for quite some time.
Well, my members are really looking forward to being back with the pupils and their students, to seeing them again and to teaching them again and having them learning in school, because remote teaching and remote learning is really very difficult. It's really time consuming. And of course, as you say, in this lockdown, teachers have been teaching in school and doing remote learning. So it's been teachers already work extremely hard, and it's been about a day's extra work a week doing that dual teaching in school and teaching at home. They know that pupils learn much better in school, in the classroom, so they're looking forward to that. But they are concerned that the government hasn't taken the safety measures it should have done, and they hope that this will be the last time schools close, but think the government could have done much more.
Well, just on that topic, I mean, are you entirely confident in the Education Secretary when he says, this is it, the schools are open, they're going to stay open?
No, I'm afraid I'm not. The government said that schools are a priority and they're the first priority to get back after the lockdown. But those are words, and those are good words, but if they'd taken the right actions, they would have had more social distancing in schools. They would have procured wider spaces for particularly secondary schools where transmission really can occur, to have much more social distancing. They would have had ventilation units in every classroom, carbon filter ventilation units, to really make sure that airborne transmission didn't happen. There are lots of things that should have happened which haven't happened, and the government had 2 months to prepare for this. So I hope, and my members hope, that this will be the last time we close schools to the majority of pupils, absolutely. But the jury's out about whether that will be the case.
I think the one thing that pretty much everyone would agree on is that children have suffered as a result of not being in schools for face-to-face learning. Even with the best will in the world, remote learning has its own issues. So there is a shortfall, there is a gap that needs to be made up. The Education Secretary saying at the weekend that pretty much every option is on the table. But what do you and your members make of perhaps one of the central ideas that I imagine will be explored over the next couple of weeks, extending the school day, extending the school term, curtailing the holidays?
Well, that's just talk at the moment, and we would be very interested to see any proposals that are put forward. But I do think it's important not to go for a knee-jerk reaction, which sounds effective, but there's great doubt whether it would be. All the international evidence shows that it's not the length of time you spend in school. Obviously, if you spend 3 minutes in school, that's not going to be helpful. But beyond a certain time, countries which spend hours and hours and hours more in school, that time less and less and less effective. One of the reasons for that is the children get tired. So if you look at South Korea, where the children have a really long school day and then they go to after school private schools in order to pass a particular exam, what the international evidence shows is that the more time they're spending, the less effective it is. And so what is more important is what happens in school. And what is more important is what is invested in schools and colleges in order to provide a broad and balanced curriculum, but also all the other things that children need, like mental health counselling, like targeted help to catch them up with their work. It's much more important about what happens within the school day than adding hours and hours to the school day.
Doctor, can we just talk for a second about face masks? Of course, not for primary school pupils, strongly recommended, I would say, for pupils in secondary schools. When we spoke to the Children's Minister about an hour ago on the programme, she said, look, no child should suffer educationally if they refuse to wear a mask. I just wonder what the senior management teams at schools are saying to you this morning. If they introduce a rule whereby they demand it of their kids, do you think that there could be scope for children being suspended, perhaps even, excluded if they refuse to do so?
Well, no one would want it to come to that, but I do think it's really poor form for the Children's Minister to say that, because it is her department's own guidelines that says that mask wearing in secondary schools will reduce transmission of the virus. Now, masks are required by everyone in shops, in public buildings, in all sorts of places. So if they are required in schools to suppress the transmission of the virus, then that is something which all children and which all young people from secondary schools should do, unless there is a medical reason why they wouldn't. And this isn't primarily actually about their safety. It's about suppressing the virus transmission. It's about caring for your school community. So I think the government ministers have to really think carefully. They've said to schools, we expect mask wearing throughout secondary schools, in classroom and in the corridor. If that's what they expect, they should not be equivocating about it before it's introduced. If they should be supporting schools in ensuring that masks are worn.
Well, I'm sure we will be speaking again in the not too distant future. Dr. Mary Bousted, thanks for joining us in the programme.